An Elon parody Twitter upsetting some students in less than 140 characters.
A budget crisis on Capitol Hill affects students at Elon.
Later in the show, everything you need to know about Asheville, the Southern Conference basketball tournament, and the fun outside the arena.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Katie Merrigy.
And I'm Brian Mazurski. A Twitter parody account that some think only wanted to make students laugh is under attack, and it's being looked at by the administration. Our Jason Puckett joins us in the studio with more. Jason.
That's right, Brian. Twitter parody accounts. It's not a new trend. There are literally thousands of them. A quick search led me to more than a dozen accounts here at Elon with names like Only at Elon, The Poor of Elon, Elon Crushes, and even an Elon Confessions account. But one of these anonymous parody accounts is now under fire, the Elon D, an account with a sexual reference.
The account has been tweeting since September. Some of their tweets say things like, if she swipes you into late night, she wants the Elon D. Or, if she offers to come over and do your laundry for you, she wants the Elon D. But it was this tweet that came after an Elon baseball game that led multiple students to speak up and say, this account has gone too far.
Well, they had essentially beat the other team, and then they said that may or may not be rape. And that is a really incorrect and offensive way to use the term rape.
Erica Young and Delaney McHugo were two of the students who spoke up against the Elon D. They responded on social media and reported the account to Elon's administration.
People are just kind of shrugging it off because they don't really see the deeper underlying problems, that this is actually like our culture's problem, is that we do not treat sexual assault as serious as we should.
And Young says that in the end, she just hopes that this raises students' awareness.
In terms of punishment, I'd really rather just see a conversation. But going along with that, I'd also like to see students being held accountable.
I spoke to the owner of the Elon D account. That person wished to remain anonymous, but sent me this message. Obviously, rape is no joking matter, but it was meant to be a joke, and people took it way too serious. And the person also wanted to apologize to anyone offended.
During Thursday's SGA Senate meeting, Darian Flowers brought up how flyers with a racial slur were posted around campus earlier this week. Friday afternoon, more flyers were found on car windshields in the Mosley parking lot. These flyers asked, "Do we really belong?" in reference to a Facebook group called Wake Up Elon that was created to stand up to these racist incidents. While SGA does support student activism, Flowers reminds us that not all students feel this way about race.
This is one small minority who are acting in an irresponsible manner. That the vast majority of my constituents and Elon community members are good, upstanding members who abide by our honor code and are people who are inclusive and respectful to their peers.
Elon's student-led Alliance for an Inclusive Community will be holding a meeting tonight to discuss the racist flyers and the Elon D Twitter account. The meeting will be held in Mosley 215 at 8:15.
A study by the University of Maryland suggests that 1 out of 5 college students admits to driving after drinking alcohol, and 40% of college students admit to getting into a car with an intoxicated driver. Jonathan Winston found out how one Elon student decided to get behind the wheel drunk.
I spoke to one student about his experiences with drunk driving on campus. He asked ELN to keep his identity a secret. Have you ever driven on Elon's campus after consuming alcohol?
I have.
Have you ever been a passenger in someone's car when you knew the driver was intoxicated?
Definitely have.
He knows the dangers of drunk driving, but says that he puts convenience over safety.
Convenience is probably usually prioritized. Personally, I know if I'm really drunk, I'm never going to drive. I mean, usually when I do, it's for pretty borderline cases. It never crosses my mind that I'm not capable of driving. It's just the thought of getting pulled over and getting a breathalyzer.
There are safer ways to get around campus late at night. The most well-known is Safe Rides. Our anonymous student explained why he gets behind the wheel instead of calling the student group.
In kind of an inebriated state, you might really not be thinking about the future, and you really probably don't want to be waiting around for a ride.
Something that incoming Safe Rides director Lauren Brady recognizes as an issue.
We have longer wait times just because of more popularity, so we're trying to add more vehicles.
Some call Elon a bubble. Brady says that shouldn't make students more likely to drink and drive.
I don't think that it's a smart move here, and I don't think that the Elon bubble should encourage that so much. I think it should discourage it, especially with the amount of cops we have on campus.
While drinking and driving remains an issue on college campuses nationwide, what can be done to stop it?
The only thing that you can really do is educate others on the dangers of it.
Jonathan Winston, Elon Local News.
Chief of Police Dennis Franks was not available for an interview, but reminded students how dangerous it is to drive drunk and that a DUI or a DWI can follow someone for a very long time. Here's what happens if you're convicted while driving intoxicated in North Carolina. According to DMV.org, a first conviction means you lose your license for a year. But you could also pay a fine of up to $2,000, spend at least 24 hours in prison, have to do 24 hours of community service, or go 30 days without driving privileges, or any combination of these penalties. And the more DWI convictions you get, the harsher the punishment.
Sequester. It's a term we've heard a lot in the past few weeks, and it refers to Congress's agreement to cut spending by $85 billion in order to reduce the deficit. Janae Frazier is live in the studio with more.
Thanks, Brian. It roots back to the recession. Congress was supposed to figure out a way to reduce the debt by March 1st. But back in 2011, they said if they couldn't find a way, there would be automatic spending cuts across the board. These cuts affect everyone, and for some Elon students, it hits closer to home.
Elon's sophomore Pari Shah started working on campus her very first week of college.
I don't really know going to school without having a job.
Shah's parents are unable to help with tuition, so she's responsible for all of her expenses. She has scholarships and financial aid grants, but that doesn't cover everything.
It's stressful to know that if I can't pay for it, no one else can.
Shah says she works almost every day, and more than $2,000 of her pay comes from the Federal Work-Study program. But with the sequester cut set to take place, Shah and students who receive aid from the program could lose some of that government aid next school year. The sequester will drain the Federal Work-Study program by $37.6 million, and the funds for the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant will be cut by $33.6 million, as projected by the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. For Elon specifically, the cuts total almost $33,000. Federal Work-Study cut by $25,448, and the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant cut by $7,207.
So that could affect, literally dozens of Elon's students directly, a few $1,000s at a time. So that could be a pretty significant thing. I mean, if you know how expensive Elon is.
I would have to not be at the school, regardless of scholarships, regardless of how much I work. But if I couldn't cover that last 2,000, so I feel really bad for those it does affect, because it seems so small, but it's a matter of them being here or not.
According to the president of the National Association of Student Financial Administrators, the official details of financial aid budgets probably won't be done before colleges send out their estimated financial aid packages. Since these numbers don't take the sequester into consideration, students receiving federal funding may not be getting the exact numbers. I'm Janae Frazier, Elon Local News.
There's a new scholarship on campus not affected by the sequester. The Elon Noyce Scholars Program is now accepting applications. It prepares students to become high school teachers in math, biology, chemistry, and physics. Noyce Scholars complete an education-related internship in their first 2 years. As the highest academic scholarship at Elon, scholars can receive almost $22,000 in their junior and senior years. Janice Richardson, Associate Professor of Mathematics and Education, told us why the program is important.
It embodies the commitment that a student makes not only to their discipline, but their commitment to reach out to others, their commitment to be of service in high needs area, because every student out there in public schools deserves the best qualified math or science teacher they can get.
Coming up on Elon Local News. Texting in class, is it hurting or helping your grades?
Get in line for the rides and eat some funnel cake. The carnival is in town.
Revamping College Chapel. Find out how after the break.
Some students use smartphones and laptops for social media. But what happens when class starts and they're still connected? Reporter Naima Abdullahi spoke with professors and students about electronic use in class, and she taped the whole story using only her iPhone.
In the classroom, texting and tweeting aren't easy.
Texting in the book bag? That's so obvious, but I guess just that the phone's not visible. Or behind your computer. And also texting down by your side.
And some professors have no tolerance for phones.
I take it as disrespectful.
Professor L.D. Russell remembers a time when distractions weren't electronics.
I wonder if they ever give themselves an opportunity just to sit and think the thoughts that are in their head, rather than always be connected.
But sophomore C.J. Moore says he doesn't plan on putting down his cell phone or closing his laptop anytime soon.
The day I hit my deathbed, when I'm laying on my deathbed, I don't think I'll be tweeting about it. But up until then, I'll probably be tweeting.
Some professors think that staying connected in the classroom disconnects the students from class material.
Are they paying 100% attention to me? No. Because more than likely what they have to be on their phones for is probably more interesting than what I have to say at that very moment.
Senior Nina Boston sees a potential issue when it comes to phone use in class.
Our brains physically can't multitask. You just switch back and forth really quickly.
But others think they can multitask and get good grades.
I would feel personally disrespected if you were to tell me that I couldn't be on social media during your class, especially if I have anything higher than an A-.
Both Moore and Boston say academics come first, but they consider this a habit that won't be easy to break. Naima Abdullahi, ELN Local News.
To find tips on how to unplug successfully, make sure you go to elonlocalnews.com.
Newman Lumen. It means spiritual and intellectual light. And between 9:40 and 10:20 on Thursdays, students and faculty can join in on a non-denominational service. Formerly known as College Chapel, the Multi-Faith Center says the goal of Newman Lumen is to provide ELN with a chance to reflect on its spirituality. Members of the community headline the event each week. Communications professor Dr. Anthony Hatcher spoke last week, and this week's speaker is Dr. Earl Danley. President Lambert told ELN Local News why this spiritual event is so important.
If you open the pages of the newspaper today, you see how oftentimes religion is a major source of conflict in the world. And I think what we're hoping for through this facility is that we can promote dialogue that will lead to peace and understanding.
Our John Bowden found out more about the new College Chapel.
Have you ever been to College Chapel?
No.
Okay. Do you know what College Chapel is?
No.
Have you guys been to the Newman Lumen Pavilion? The what?
College Chapel, now called Newman Lumen, began as a required weekly service in 1889. Today, it's much less than that. Only 46 people attended last week, and that number is higher than normal. Many students haven't heard of it, and many who have think it's a Christian service. ELN's chaplain says that isn't the case.
So if you hear the word chapel, you think it's going to be a religious service. And it's not, and we don't want it to be.
Fuller says that low attendance isn't a bad thing. She'd rather have a small community of people who want to be there than the mandatory Christian services of the past. But when less than 1% of campus attends the first service, she says it might be a good time to raise awareness.
That doesn't feel like a failure to us. That feels like just an opportunity to get the word out and to invite people to honor that window and to come and take a deep breath.
Raising awareness might not be easy. The Truett Center needs to get students interested in the services. Fuller hopes the renaming of College Chapel to Newman Lumen will help.
A person who's not a Christian hears the word chapel and thinks, oh, I couldn't possibly, that's not for me.
The Truett Center holds Newman Lumen services every Thursday at 9:50 in the Newman Lumen Pavilion. For ELN Local News, I'm John Bowden.
Warm weather hit this weekend, and we'll have your 5-day forecast coming up. But first, the warm temperatures allowed many Burlington residents to go outside to enjoy a carnival. I got the chance to see why so many people line the streets to get into the festivities.
The carnival is in town. The Power's Great American Midways open its season Friday on North Church Street. The With more than 24 family-friendly rides, games like darts, where you try to win a prize, and classic food stands, people visited the carnival for many reasons.
It's my birthday.
I'm scared of heights. I want to see how it feels.
The rush, like the wind in your face and what you feel.
The rides, I come here for the rides.
I want cotton candy too. It's healthy. And milk.
The lights, the rides, and the food are all here to create some fun for local families.
We like to see the families come out and bring their kids, and everybody has a good time and gets to have a good community celebrations.
Janice says some may think carnivals are a thing of the past, but to him, it's not a dying business.
But what's special about us is it's a limited engagement, so each time we're at an event, maybe it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people know, or it's something they look forward to on an annual basis. It's not something you can do every day.
When the rides move on around the state and travel north, organizers hope families in those towns will fill the parking lots like they did for this carnival in Burlington.
Where?
If you'd like to get a thrill, the carnival will be in Burlington until March 24th.
After the break, we'll take you to Asheville, and not just for the basketball tournament. The weekend weather was spring-like, but today was a little cooler.
Our Jasmine Turner is in the studio to tell us what to expect for the rest of the week. Jasmine.
Thanks, guys. It seemed like it was finally time to break out the shorts this weekend with our highs in the 60s. We're looking hopeful for the same thing this week. Looking ahead to our 5-day forecast, we started out today a little bit chilly, getting up to 66 with rain coming tonight. But make sure you have an umbrella tomorrow because we'll be starting the day off with showers in the morning, but things will be clearing up by the afternoon. It's going to be a little chilly again in the middle of the week with highs of 52 on Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll get back to the low 60s later on in the weekend. Rain is likely for the weekend as well. The lows this week range between the low 30s and high 50s, so make sure to wear something warm to start the day. I'm Jasmine Turner with your 5-day forecast.
As spring temperatures increase, so do allergy symptoms. A common spring allergy is because of high pollen count from oak and maple trees, which are staples on ELN's campus.
ELN's Medical Director of Student Health, Dr. Jeanette Archinal, said taking over-the-counter drugs such as Benadryl, Claritin, Zyrtec, and Allegra at the beginning of the season can prevent colds and sinus infections.
I think if somebody knows their problem is allergy, then the most important thing is go ahead and start taking your antihistamines. If they're not working, yes, come and see us. You may have that secondary infection we talked about. You may need something extra like the eye drops or the nasal spray in addition to your allergy meds.
Campus was missing a couple of students this weekend as the SoCon tournament got underway. I joined them in Asheville. Take a look. Street musicians, art galleries, and homemade fudge. As you can tell, this is not Elon. Welcome to Asheville, North Carolina, home of the 2013 Southern Conference Basketball Tournament. But when fans weren't cheering on the Phoenix on the court,
behind me is downtown Asheville, where we went exploring to see what else there is to do outside the bubble.
Streets are lined with European-inspired restaurants, boutiques, and architecture. Right across the U.S. Cellular Center where the tournament is being held is St. Lawrence Basilica. Built in 1905 by a Spanish architect, the church is the only basilica in Western Carolina. Leave the quiet of the church and rejoin the bustling streets of Asheville, where street musicians play and sing and try to make a couple bucks. And finally, the Grove Arcade, at the time considered one of the most elegant buildings in America, opened in 1929 and has since been a landmark of Asheville with retail space, restaurants, and art galleries. While you can't fit all of Asheville into one weekend, the sounds of the streets, the art and architecture, and many kinds of people provide lots to see. When we come back, we have sports coverage from Asheville and here at Elon.
Sports is next. Stay with us.
Welcome back, I'm Matt Lee. We've had reporters in Asheville this weekend covering the Southern Conference Tournament. Let's check in with our Justin Beagle and Jamie Daphner for the highlights. Guys?
Thank you very much, Matt. The women's basketball team showed both physical and mental toughness against Sanford in the quarterfinals of the SoCon tournament on Saturday. With a speedy turnaround time, the team would have to rebound quickly before taking on Davidson in the semifinals. Senior Kelsey Evans and Allie Ford stole the show last time, and the two started out hot early this time. Here, Kelsey Evans drinks a three-point shot in the corner, and she would finish with 16 points. Next, Shannon Cochran gets a feed from Jessica Farmer and puts up the one-handed layup. She would rack up 14 points and an impressive 6 rebounds. However, Davidson would quickly respond, knocking down this three just before halftime. ELN would find themselves down 9 until Kelsey Evans spots teammate Kelsey Harris under the basket, who puts it in for the easy bucket. But Davidson's 1-2 combo of Laura Murray and Sophia Alexandrafikis would prove to be too much for the Phoenix, and Davidson hangs on to beat ELN 71-61. After the game, Kelsey Evans discussed what went wrong in this matchup.
We weren't as focused, I think, on our assignments today and kind of what we needed to do. Defensively, we weren't as good as we were last week, and I think that's pretty much what it boils down to.
So definitely a very disappointing loss for the Phoenix. Allie Ford and Kelsey Evans end their collegiate careers with the loss, just one step away from that SoCon final. But Jamie, you were covering the men. What happened on Saturday?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the men faced a similar fate as the women in their semifinal match against the College of Charleston. There was a pretty good showing of fans that made it to Asheville for the weekend. The team knew they had to give everything they had to compete with a tough Charleston team, but the Cougars were hot out of the gate, shooting their way to a quick 11-0 lead to start the game. Willis Hall got things started with a 3-ball, and moments later, Anthony Stitt would hit from downtown. The Cougars shot 41% from three-point land. ELN freshman Tanner Sampson would respond, though, with a 3 of his own. After the slow start, the Phoenix fought their way back into the game, closing the gap to only 2 points late in the second half. Junior Lucas Troutman led all scorers with 23 points, but him and his teammates' efforts weren't quite enough. When ELN needed to most, they couldn't stop Charleston from scoring and eventually fell to the Cougars 68-60. Here's head coach Matt Matheny's thoughts on the tournament loss.
We have learned to dream really big, and when you walk the high wire, the fall is really painful. But we wouldn't have it any other way. We want to walk the high wire, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, guys, it was a tough weekend for ELN. You know, 2 losses in the semifinals. But Matt, you covered baseball this weekend. How'd that go?
Well, it was interesting. The ELN baseball team took on the Charleston Cougars this weekend in a 3-game series. The Phoenix won a thrilling 3-2 walk-off win on Friday and hoped for another win on Saturday. Phoenix pitcher Kyle Webb started on the mound and had an outstanding performance, striking out a career-high 10 hitters and allowing just 2 unearned runs. ELN's offense went on a 4-run burst to lead 4-0 heading into the 6th inning when the bullpen took over, allowing 9 runs on 5 hits and 8 walks. Wild pitches destroyed ELN's composure, and the Cougars would score 6 runs in 1 inning. The Phoenix would blow a 4-0 lead, losing 11-6. The baseball team looked to avenge their loss against the Cougars in the final game of the weekend series on Sunday. The Phoenix pitching staff continued to struggle, allowing 2 walks and 3 runs in the first inning alone. Jimmy Holton of the Cougars singled in the 3rd inning to put the Cougars up 5-0. The Phoenix were able to get back 1 run in the 3rd, but the Cougars added 2 more in the 8th to make the lead 7-1. ELN would try to rally 1 more time in the 8th and 9th innings, scoring 3 runs, but the comeback came a little too late as ELN would lose 7-4, winning only 1 game of the 3-game series. The ELN softball team also played a series weekend game this time against Georgia Southern. The girls lost the doubleheader on Saturday and looked to avoid a sweep in the final game of the series on Sunday. The girls got off to a rough start as Georgia Southern scored 2 runs in the 1st inning, but the Phoenix were able to answer back after a wild pitch allowed Watson to score. Running right behind her was Hill, who sprinted past third base and dove into home plate to tie the game up at 2. After this play, the Phoenix struggled to score the rest of the way as 11 ELN hitters would strike out throughout the entire game. The Eagles took advantage of the ELN's cold streak as Finley would single to left field to bring the Eagles up 4-2. The Phoenix would not be able to rally and would lose 5-2.
Thanks, guys. That's all we have for this ELN Local News. For all the news that matters to you, check out our website, elnlocalnews.com.
It was an exciting weekend for the Phoenix. We've had tons of coverage of the events, and for anything that we have coming at you this week, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at ELN Local News.
From all of us here at ELN Local News, have a great week, ELN.